hear anything?
Yep, they can hear you. So I'll just, when you talk, just say Brian, Brian, and then I'll put you in queue, and then I'll put the microphone up when I call in. Is that cool?
Yeah, that sounds good. It's going to be a little bit rocky, but it's
Yep.
That's fine.
Will you turn that mic so that they can chime in?
We'll wait for Susie.
Waiting for Susie.
No, we're just waiting for Susie, guys. Wait, are they only on my phone?
Mm-hmm.
Only in your phone.
Sweet. I can disconnect from either one anytime.
Councilmember Martin, are you okay with your,
Pardon me?
is your packet pulled up? Are you good? Do you need help?
I'm just trying to see if this is Dropbox icon. This is not put up.
Mayor Bagley? Here. Councilmembers Christensen?
Say here, Polly.
Yeah,
Yep, she's here. That's Polly.
Hidalgo Faring?
but
Martin?
I can't hear
Here.
anybody but you, Brian.
Peck?
Here.
Yeah. no,
Rodriguez?
Not good.
Aaron, say here.
Here?
All right, they're here. but
Waters?
They can't hear. So is the live stream going?
Hello.
How about how much?
30 seconds.
All right, so
It's live.
I'll make sure I repeat anything that is substantial. And I'll define substantial by anything that you would consider substantial, not just me. Fair enough?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, no information on donuts.
Exactly.
All right.
Councilmember Waters is here. Mary of Corn.
All right, great, thank you. All right, let's go ahead. I would like to now call March 3rd, 2020 Longmont City Council regular session to order. Tonight's meeting is a little bit different because of the COVID-19 virus pandemic and the governor's emergency orders. There are only 10 people allowed in a public gathering per order of the Centers for Disease Control. Thus, we've reduced staff in attendance and no public at all. And so there's 5 council members. Councilmember Christensen and Councilmember Rodriguez are appearing by phone. We have our city manager, Eugene May, Don Quintana, and 1 member of the media who is making sure the microphone's running. Harold?
Yes, Mayor. Council, I wanted to let everyone know that we have talked to the council members. Colorado Municipal League informed us that there were 2 individuals as part of the Colorado delegation, not from Longmont, that did test positive for COVID-19 virus, and because of the interaction, Colorado Municipal League is suggesting that anyone who attended that conference and was part of the Colorado delegation that they self-isolate. I will say that our 2 council members are not experiencing any symptoms. They're just simply following the guidance of the Centers for Disease Control, Colorado Department of Health, and the Colorado Municipal League.
All right, great. So we miss you too, but thank you for doing what you need to. Let's go on. Let's go ahead. We had roll call. Let's say the pledge.
We did roll call.
I know we did, but that's what I said. We did. We had roll call, but
Okay.
let's say that. Do we have a flag in here?
No.
Well, we're still saying the pledge. Is there? Yeah, just that way.
Yeah.
Virtual flag.
All right, virtual flag.
Should be right there.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Cadence was off a little bit tonight, but that's okay. No flag. All right. All right, let's go ahead. We have no approval of minutes. Actually, so in order to protect residents, staff, and elected officials, Longmont residents were invited to provide public comment remotely by submitting their comments to City Council in writing or via video or phone message in place of personally attending tonight's meeting. So I'm asking staff to go ahead and forward all those to us, and we will review those on our own time. We're not going to go ahead and read all those tonight in public, but I'm allowed to take things off, and that's what we're doing, and we're going to move on and get out of here as soon as possible. Approval of minutes. No minutes were submitted for approval. Do we have any agenda revisions or submission of documents and motions to direct the city manager for anything?
Don, we have agenda revisions.
We do. Mayor, I prepped your script.
All right, so, yep, so we've got item 6A is an update on Longmont Public Media. That has been postponed since it is not time critical, as well as item 9C regarding 2020-11 or ordinance 2020-11 on special districts. And these are both being continued to, looks like May 26th. Is that correct? May 12th?
May 12th.
May 12th, all right. Finally, there's an updated version of the official statement for the proposed wastewater refunding bond, item 8A, at council's desk. So be aware of those. All right, assuming that council members have nothing else to bring up, let's,
Just
Dr. Waters?
Just
Yep.
for clarification, under 9, we've got 3 items. So we are going to have a public hearing for item 9A?
Yes. or wait, 9A?
AA?
For 9A is a public
Oh.
hearing on consolidated. Okay,
Wait,
so we're having a hearing in public, not a public hearing, not a hear.
Correct.
We're not gonna hear from the public.
Yes, correct. Although people were invited to submit their comments via email, phone, video messaging,
All right.
et cetera. So,
We didn't receive any.
and we received none. So, all right, so let's go ahead.
yeah, Mayor, if we
yeah,
did
go ahead.
receive comments on any of those on the second reading, we would need to read those, but we did not receive any comments on those items.
Correct. All right. All right, so 4A, consideration of a policy for electronic participation in Longmont City Council meetings. Eugene?
Mayor and Council, Eugene May, City Attorney. So this was sent out before Harold had declared a state of emergency. That's how quickly things are moving. However, I think it still provides excellent guidance, and it would still be applicable because it's upon the city manager's activation of the Emergency Operations Center, which he has done. And therefore, this sets forth some guidelines for electronic participation in city council meetings. The Longmont Municipal Code authorizes telephonic or electronic meetings when a state of emergency has been declared, and that's how we're operating tonight. These policies would just further define how those meetings are to be conducted.
All right. So Aaron and Polly, did you hear that? I assume not, right? Yeah. Okay, so basically we're going to be voting on 4A, the policy for electronic participation in Longmont City Council meetings. Harold, when he declares an emergency, that ordinance allows us to have meetings remotely, which is what we're doing now. But this particular, Eugene said that this particular consideration will allow us to operate not under emergency. That make sense? Yeah. So what do we need to do, Eugene?
Mayor and council, if council would like to approve the policy, then you can. It does affect city council meetings. You would be suspending the council rules of procedure in order to adopt this.
So do we need to suspend the council rules of procedure?
Correct.
I move that we suspend the council rules of procedure.
Second?
Anybody want to say anything? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so that we just suspended the rules of procedure. It passed unanimously. Let's go ahead. I will actually move that we adopt the policy for electronic participation in Longmont City Council meeting
Second.
as proposed by Eugene May in the packet.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Was that an aye, Polly? All right, so that passes unanimously. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull 4B, 2020 legislative bills recommended for city council position. Anybody opposed to that? All right. 4C, city council extending emergency declaration in order 2020-01. Do we have a motion?
So moved?
Second? Councilmember Peck.
I think Harold wanted to say something.
Hold on, I don't think your mic's on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Now it's on.
Now it's on. I just wanted to give council a quick update on everything that we have because this is an opportunity for me to update you and the community, if that's okay.
Sure. You know what? Can people see me when? Can people see? I mean, right? So, can you take my seat? Why don't you talk and give this update? No, but what I mean is, I'm going to trade you seats while you talk, so that
Okay.
way I don't have to repeat it to
Yep.
Paulie and Aaron.
Why are you doing this?
Because they can hear.
Oh.
Oh, for Pauline here.
I've had this next to me, but
I can sit by, yeah. Good idea. So, wow, this feels different.
I like it over here.
Yeah. Mayor, Council, what I wanted to do quickly is to give you and the community an update in terms of everything that we have going on regarding what our staff is doing related to the COVID-19 virus. As you know, we issued a disaster declaration yesterday. We have now officially closed all city buildings in terms of the public utilizing those buildings. That was actually a result of the guidance that we received and the orders issued by the governor of Colorado and the Centers for Disease Control. We've also created a number of teams to deal with issues that we're seeing as a result of those actions. Michelle Waite is working on a senior services team. Specifically, we're focusing on food, housing, medical issues, hospice care. We have a team now with Christina Pacheco and Jeff Friesner looking at child care for critical personnel. We're hearing that that's becoming more and more of an issue for the healthcare system and for our staff. We also have Ellie Berto working on a broader county initiative regarding homelessness and how we deal with the individuals that are potentially infected with COVID-19 and how we work to create our existing shelters so we don't have that issue. And then we have a broader food group working with Christina and the Human Service Funding Group in terms of looking at that issue. We've also created a business team. The city representatives are Joni Marsh, and I just dropped Peter's last name, Gibbons. They're also working with the Chamber of Commerce, DDA, Visit Longmont, LEDP, and other business owners in terms of evaluating the current situation. We're also going to ramp up an economic team internally to look at what are the potential economic impacts and what that means to us. We've started that work, but we're on the front end of it. In addition, we're focusing on employee support in terms of how do we support all of the members of our team that are engaged in working numerous issues. We have fully moved into our COOP plan, which is a continuity of operations plan, which looks at staffing, pulling critical personnel from certain positions in terms of we know that we have certain licenses in play and we have duplicate individuals. We are making sure that we have some folks at home where if someone does get sick, we can continue to provide those services. Public safety has increased the patrol at grocery stores based on what we've seen at other communities. We are not saying we're seeing an issue. I'm going to be very clear. We have not seen any issues to this point. These are just actions that we're taking to try to prepare for and deal with these other challenges. I know that there were some questions about restrooms in parks. We have a number of those open, and we're looking at opening others. We evaluated keeping those areas, how we sanitize those and the impact of closing them versus leaving them open, and we felt that we had more of a risk if we kept them closed. We are going to increase the sanitation schedule, but we would still say that people need to be cognizant of when they go into those facilities. At that point, Jim Golden is in the other room, so I'm going to give him some time to move in this direction since I'm not at my computer. But one of the things that we do is every year as we're closing the books, we have the, Don, can you go get Jim? I don't know what the delay is. I forgot the name of the fund. One of the things that we do every year is as we're going through and we're closing out the previous year, we have a certain amount of money that we move into one of the, and I can't remember exactly which fund it is, and Jim can clarify that information, but we move that money into our the fund balance to deal with these issues, and it becomes a little more difficult for us to touch. One of the things that council can do is direct us not to move, here he comes. I forgot the name of the fund, Jim, and I'm not at my computer.
So it's the stabilization reserve fund.
Okay.
In our emergency reserves in the general fund.
Right. So it's emergency reserve stabilization. When we close the books out, we typically move the funding in there. We think there's probably going to be about $1.6 million. Is that what you indicated?
So in our budget, we said we had projected that we'd be able to put $1.67 million from last year's operations into that stabilization reserve fund, which we would do when we close the books for 2019. So we're suggesting that we not put that in there, but instead leave it within the general fund's fund balance to help us offset any revenues coming in short for 2020.
And I just need direction from council to do that.
Is that, Jim, that's one of our financial policies. If I were to get into in the financial policy booklet or manual, I would see that policy.
That's correct. We have a financial policy that spells out the general fund's reserves, and
Yeah.
there's three
So is the-
layers of it.
Would the motion be to suspend that policy for, what's the right motion here?
I think the motion is just to not put those reserves into the general fund stabilization reserve.
Then I'm going to move that we direct staff not to move those funds into the general fund stabilization fund, but make them move them into the general fund and make them available for use in 2020.
Let me clarify for Polly and Aaron. So, Polly and Aaron, the thing that, as part of the budget, I don't know if you heard this, we had moving $1.67 million into the emergency fund via the stabilization fund. And the motion was, and what we said is council can direct us not to do that. That way we would have those available to deal with any shortfalls that we may see related to the COVID-19 issue. Councilmember Waters made a motion to provide staff with that direction, and it was seconded by Councilmember Hidalgo-Ferry.
I think that's a good idea. This is an emergency if there ever was one, so. Anyway.
Okay. That's it. Yep, we heard you were trading seats.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Do you have any further debate, discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all opposed say nay. That passes unanimously. All right, let's go on to, having a hard time not licking my fingers to change the pages tonight. I'm fighting the urge, fight the urge.
Here, do you need some of this?
Some hand sanitizer? No, it's just dry.
Oh.
Oh, man, I'm good. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. So we'll start with item 8A,
Can we-
ordinance, go ahead.
4C, do we need to,
No, what I'm saying is we're gonna just read it first. I'm gonna read it, and then we'll pull it.
oh, okay.
Okay.
4C.
So, yep, so 8A, ordinance 2020-12, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Longmont Enterprise Wastewater Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2020. Public hearing and second reading scheduled for March 31st, 2020. 8B, ordinance 2020-13, a bill for an ordinance authorizing the City of Longmont to lease the real property known as Vance Brand Municipal Airport, hangar parcel H18, to Richard D. Sykes. Public hearing and second reading scheduled for March 31st, 2020. 8C, ordinance 2020-14, a bill for an ordinance authorizing the City of Longmont to lease the real property known as Vance Brand Municipal Airport, hangar parcel H18C to Zulu LLC. Public hearing and second reading scheduled for March 31st, 2020. 8D, ordinance 2020-15, a bill for an ordinance authorizing the City of Longmont to amend the leases for Vance Brand Municipal Airport hangars parcels known as H7, H8, H9, and H10. The public hearing and second reading scheduled for March 31st, 2020. Ordinance 8E, which is ordinance 2020-16, a bill for an ordinance authorizing the City of Longmont to lease the real property known as Vance Brand Municipal Airport hangar parcel H68 to 4 Dots LLC. Public hearing and second reading scheduled for March 31st, 2020. 8F, which is Resolution 2020-25, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Longmont Downtown Development Authority for support and services. 8G, Resolution 2020-26, a resolution of the Council of the City of Longmont, Colorado, finding the petition for annexation of a parcel of land located in Boulder County, State of Colorado, known as the Sugar Mill Annexation, substantially complies with the Colorado Revised Statute, Section 3112-1071. 8H, Resolution 2020-27, a resolution of the City of Longmont, Colorado, authorizing the assignment of the city's private activity bond allocation for 2020 to the Housing Authority of the City of Longmont, Colorado, providing other details in connection therewith, and providing an effective date. 8I, approval of 2020 City Council Work Plan. 8J, approved 2020 Neighborhood Improvement Program grant recommendations. Are there any that you would like to pull? Councilmember Peck. Oh, hold on one second, Polly. Let's go, Councilmember Peck.
Yes, I'd like to pull 8A.
So we're going to pull 8A. Polly?
I would like to pull G.
G. Okay. Dr. Waters?
8I.
So A, G, and I. And J. All right, so you're going to pull A. I'm going to need a pen now. that was J, I, G, and A. All right. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda minus A, G, I, and J?
So moved.
I'll second that. That's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Polly? All right, that passes unanimously. All opposed? I'm sorry, all opposed? No? Okay, now it passes unanimously. All right, let's go ahead and start with 8B, ordinance 2020-13, a bill for an ordinance to authorize the city of Longmont to lease the real property known as Vance Brand. I'm sorry. We're gonna start with, she's standing up there. We're going on to 9, ordinances on second reading. So this is let's see here. This is 9A, a public hearing on Consolidated Annual Performance Report, or also known as CAPER, for 2019 Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, and home programs. And it looks like we have a presentation by Kathy Fedler.
There we go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kathy Fedler, Housing and Community Investment Manager for the city. And sorry, this is something that is required by HUD, and they did not give us any kind of waiver. So in order to be compliant with our submission and be able to submit the CAPER by March 31st, we had to go ahead and hold this. So I'll be as brief as I can possibly be. So briefly going through some of this Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, program accomplishments. Our general rehab program spent about $140,800 to correct code violations, health and safety issues, energy efficiency improvements, and homeowner requested changes for 7 households at an average cost of about $20,000. And this just shows a couple of pictures of some of the things that we did. This particular one was replacing some flooring that was pretty bad, and some cabinet upgrades. And then this one is an outside one where the roof was replaced and the outside siding, et cetera, and decking was replaced. We also assisted 17 households at an average cost of just under $7,500 with the mobile home repair program, which provides grants to low and moderate income mobile homeowners to keep their homes safe, and a total of $126,600 was spent on that program. The architectural barrier removal program, making homes accessible for persons with disabilities. We spent about $61,500 this year, assisting 13 households at an average cost of about $4,700. And then on the emergency grant program, we helped 6 households with hot water or furnace replacement, electric repairs, and doing some water sewer issues at an average cost of $1,350 for a total of about $8,000 spent on this program. So in total, we spent over $380,000, assisted 43 households in total. Some households got a few more, could use multiple programs at a total average cost of about $8,800. This is a decrease in volume from 2018, where we spent $455,000 for 40 households at an average cost of $10,000. We are continuing to struggle with having sufficient contractors to work and bid on jobs. Every job's taking longer to complete because we only have a couple contractors that are working, and we're having to bid each job multiple times in order to get something that we can move forward with. We also provided a grant to Boulder County Housing for their housing counseling program. We gave them $50,000. They spent $47,500, so we'll recapture that difference and reallocate it in 2020. 288 residents, Longmont residents, were assisted, and it leveraged $364,000 for this program. We also approved the security deposit program to support local and LHA-funded vouchers for folks who are experiencing homelessness and were able to move into housing. That program, the vouchers the money didn't come through until 2020, so we're working on contracting on that now. And that will be added with the 2020 funding we set aside as well. So altogether for CDBG, we had about a 33% expenditure ratio, which is less than the 50% expenditure ratio we had in 2018. Our 2019 timeliness ratio was 1.43, which is required to be below 1.5, so we squeaked by there. We leveraged about 64 cents for every dollar in CDBG funds. Excuse me. 14.6% of our 2019 funding was spent on administrative services, which is just slightly above what we spent in 2018. We're allowed to go up to 20% of our grant. And then 98.9% of the funding spent in 2019 benefited low and moderate income residents. And the requirement is that 70% of our funds go there. So we exceeded that mechanism. So some of the reasons why so much of our CDBG funds were unspent this year. This shows graphically where the unspent funds are. So the blue line is the budgeted funds in each category. The red line is the 2019 expenditures, and then the green line is what was unspent. The mobile home repair program was the only program where we spent more than we left unspent. So obviously we need to get our rehab funding out into the community. About $452,000 is sitting in rehab that needs to get out into the community accumulated over a couple of years. We did not receive our grant agreement until September, so projects totaling $305,000 could not begin until late fall. So getting a late start means you can't spend as much money in that year.
Sorry, can we, Aaron and Paula, you both still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Aaron? Aaron?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, okay, never mind.
Okay,
I
thought
just
we
heard
lost
somebody-
some.
All right, it just sounded like they disconnected. Just making sure, I mean, I know you guys can't hear, they're just going through the slides right now. You guys have copies of the slides, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Okay. And then the other thing that happened in 2019 is we received over $300,000 in program income from the Thistle loan repayment at the very end of 2019. So those funds are showing here as unspent, but we didn't have time to allocate and spend them during the program year. Some of the affordable housing program accomplishments, we did a $300,000 loan to purchase Longmont Mobile Home Park in 2019, $600,000 loan to Thistle to refinance and rehab their properties, $110,000 loan to Habitat to do pre-development work for the Rogers Road site, $287,000 loan to In Between to complete construction of the Micah homes. And then we had 2 pilot projects, the ADU stock plans and the planning facilitator. I think I gave a brief update last time, maybe during the 2020 action plan, or sometime it seemed like a brief update, but real quickly, the ADU stock plans, we do have that already. Building permit has approved those. We should be ready to launch that in April. I'm just working on the financing package to put together to make that attractive for folks to build ADUs and rent them at an affordable rent for a period of time. And then the planning facilitator contract has been working really well. We've got several projects that are in the process that are being helped. 2 of them have gone all the way through planning approval and are into building permits and actually starting construction. And then there's about 4 that are still going through the review process. And then on the city-owned properties where you had converted some of the homes that had been purchased under open space or with water sewer funds to affordable rentals, we are moving forward with 1 is rented to Habitat and 1 will probably be bidding here soon to do some rehab on it. And then as they leases expire, we're converting those. We also provided $157,800 in fee waivers from the Affordable Housing Fund to support 66 rental homes at an average of just under $2,400 per home. We conducted 3 application cycles in 2019 with 11 applications reviewed, 5 projects approved for affordable housing funding, 5 under CDBG, and 1 home that will be coming back to you. The inclusionary housing program was instituted, which was another reason why we didn't do a very good job of spending our CDBG funds. We had staff that was working on that to get that up and running. And then we continued participation in our regional affordable housing partnership with over 6 community presentations made, the ballot measure being explored, possible affordable housing trust fund, governance and distribution formula prepared, and then the Home Wanted education and support campaign was begun this year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we'll hold the public hearing, and then there's a possible motion there.
All right, great, thank you. Marsh Martin?
Hi.
By the way, we were told by Scott Converse at Longmont Public Media that we're not getting picked up, so speak directly into the microphones.
Stop
So-
stealing my thunder, Mr.
Oh, is
Mayor.
that what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't actually have any questions. That was a good presentation, Kathy.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and, are there any questions from council? Okay, let's go ahead and open the so are there any questions, Polly or Aaron?
I just wanted to say to Kathy, this is a great job. You've helped hundreds of people get, keep, and maintain their houses, and that's what we need. So, thanks so much.
Yeah, we all heard it. Did you not hear the applause? Okay, there was a thunderous applause, Polly. I'm kidding, of course. All right, so let's go ahead and, were there any comments submitted for the public hearing on this?
Mayor, we did not receive any public comments on this item.
All right, so given that this is a not closed, it's a public meeting, but there are no public present. So given that there's no one to comment, I'm not going to ask anyone else if they want to speak. Let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Can I have a motion for approving and accepting the consolidated annual performance report for the 2019 Community Development Block Grant and Home Programs?
I move acceptance of 8A, please.
I'll second that. All right.
9A.
It's 9A.
9A.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we accept 9A. Anybody else? Any other comments? Polly, Aaron, any comments? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, opposed, say nay. All right, that passes unanimously. All right, 9B, ordinance 2020-10, a bill for an ordinance conditionally approving the vacation of 4 10-foot wide utility easements in the Prairie Village subdivision generally located adjacent to Alpine Street. Are there any questions from council? All right, Harold, did we receive any public comments regarding the public hearing?
No, Mayor, we did not receive any public comments.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Can I have a motion? Councilmember Pack.
I move 2020-10.
All right, that's been seconded by Councilmember Waters. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes unanimously. Okay, let's go ahead and do 9C, ordinance 2020-11, a bill for an ordinance amending chapter 4.
That was removed.
Oh, that was, yeah, thank you. So, all right, let's move on to items removed from the consent agenda. Let's start in order. Item 8A, ordinance 2020, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Longmont Enterprise wastewater revenue refunding bonds. Who pulled that?
I pulled that one.
Okay, Councilmember Peck.
So, first of all, I want to thank Jim Golden for sending out that your email explaining what's happening here. But for our listeners, for our residents, can you explain the volatility at this moment in the bond market and what that means for this bond?
Sure. Mayor Bagley, members of the council, Jim Golden, Chief Financial Officer. So we did include in the council packet originally some projections on the amount of savings that we would gain from the refunding of the wastewater bonds from 2010. The Fed has cut rates in recent weeks and days, but also last week there was a lot of volatility in the municipal bond market. They took a turn for the worse, and because of the investor uncertainty, some bond investors have moved out of the municipal bond market, which in turn has raised the prices of municipal bonds. They've been moving out to basically get more liquidity. So quite a bit of that movement did take place over 3 days last week, where the bond market rose 94 basis points over 3 days. So what the impact is on our potential savings, we had projected, and we actually had projected this as we started this process in late January. Our present value savings at that point in time, based on that market rate, was $597,000. It's dropped to $470,000 of present value savings. So that's originally a 6.9% of the refunded amount of the bonds in potential savings is dropping to 5.4% of the refunded amount of the bonds. Our debt policy has a targeted minimum for a refunding of 5%. That's based on old regulations in refundings that no longer are necessarily in place. But nevertheless, we are still trying to keep to that sort of a target, at least at this point in time. So the issue itself does not go to sale until April 29th. It needs to wait till a month after the ordinance passes. And so at that point in time, there's no telling what the market will be like then. We can go to market. If at the point right before then we think it's bad to go to market at that time, we can just step back and not go to market, or we can go and accept bids and decide whether to, or open bids and decide whether to accept one or not, or we can turn them down and decide to go at another time. So this ordinance authorizes us to sell the bonds anytime over the next year. From a savings perspective, sooner we do it before we actually make more debt payments, we'll have more savings. So we have to take all that into consideration, but just wanted to let you know what the implications were of those changes, but the ordinance does give us a lot of flexibility.
All right, and I'm imagining, I forgot, I was gonna have you come up and sit here, because I'm sure, do you have any questions on either one of you, Polly, Aaron, regarding 9A? Basically, Jim Golden said it's all gonna be okay, trust him.
It's the least of our problems.
Explanations over the, and I don't have any questions. I think we'll just have to see,
Aaron?
like everything else.
Aaron,
I have no questions.
All right.
No questions.
So thank you, Jim. We really needed to hear that. The public did. So having said that, I move to pass 2020-12.
Second?
All right, that's been moved and by Councilmember Peck, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. All right, let's move on to 8G, Resolution 2020-26, a resolution of the Council of the City of Longmont, Colorado, finding that the petition for annexation of a parcel of land located in Boulder County, State of Colorado, known as the Sugar Mill Annexation, substantially complies to Colorado Revised Statute, Section 31-12-1071. Who pulled this one? Is that you, Polly? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch places with you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Not you, Polly, but Joni Marsh.
Councilmember Christensen, this is Assistant City Manager Joni Marsh. Did you have a question?
Get really
Well, you gotta get right in it.
Okay.
In the packet, it says that this is going
Hey, Joni, can you take that one off and put it up? Joni, pull it out, hold it up on the phone.
I can't read the petitioner. It just says, it looks like NIT, which isn't, I'm sure their name. The petition for annexation on page, it's my page 334, but I don't think that's relevant to you. Anyway, on the second page, just above the owner's signature, which is unreadable, they are asking for a zoning of R-MN, which is residential something or other. What is that?
Need the mic.
Can you hear me?
I can. I'm just trying to find the information. Sorry. So this property is actually asking for agricultural zoning, as part of their annexation. This is a parcel that was referred by council back in March. This parcel will not be developed. It is ancillary to the parcel due west of it that is being developed with single-family and duplex housing. And this parcel will be zoned agricultural.
Well, yes, but I'm puzzled by the fact that the petitioner asked for RMN. I don't know what RMN means, but I know it means residential something.
I'm looking.
On the petition where he signed his name, he
Okay.
or she. This is Western Sugar LLC.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilmember, I am not seeing that on the petition I'm looking at online right now. However, the designation both in the comp plan and what they're asking for, to my knowledge, is agricultural, so that could just be an error on the applicant's part on their petition of what they're asking for.
Okay, so once again, we're turning agricultural land into luxury housing. Is that what we're doing here? Well, no, we're not yet. We're just leaving it as agricultural for now. Correct?
Correct, so Councilmember Hidalgo was kind enough to point out on the petition what you're looking at. So that zoning request of RMN does not match the actual. Correct, I see that now. My apologies. So this is not going to be developed into housing. The 17 acres will remain agriculturally zoned in the city of Longmont. The houses are on an already annexed parcel due west.
Right. Okay. All right, well, this is just to move it forward, but every time we move it forward, we never stop it. We just keep moving it forward. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, are there further questions or comments pertaining to item 8G? All right, do we have a motion, Polly?
I prefer to have other.
All right, I'll go ahead and do it. I move resolution 2020-26.
Second?
All right, that's been moved by myself and seconded by Councilmember Martin. Let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that passes unanimously. All right, let's go ahead and move on to item 8I, approval of the 2020 City Council Work Plan. Dr. Waters, was that you who pulled that?
I am the one who pulled that. So Sandy, is this you?
Happy to help.
And Sandy, I'm going to ask you to come up and you can sit at my desk and make sure that Polly and Aaron hear you. Only for you two, guys. Only for you two.
Councilmember Waters, Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. I am the compiler of the document. What can I answer for you?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your work on this. But I do have, I don't know, I guess questions, and I would offer recommendations if they seem appropriate as we go through the conversation.
Okay.
And I don't want to get lost in the details of the activities, because there's a ton of activities. But when we discussed in our retreat on February 7th, I think, we talked about the silver tsunami and what we knew was coming in terms of needs for senior centers, for our seniors, and that's reflected in the vision statement. I asked the question that day, or I thought maybe it wasn't clear, whether or not we would see a new goal added to this section. And I thought the answer was yes, but we haven't. I see both in the vision statement, the reference, however, which makes sense, to add older adults and not have it reflected as a goal, however, doesn't make as much sense to me. So My question would be why not, or my suggestion would be that we at least consider adding a goal that would say something like the goal would be to ensure housing and related critical services for all of our senior citizens.
So, Councilmember Waters, Sandy Cedar, Assistant City Manager. Let me take a look because, as it turned out, there was already a section about seniors particularly, and so we added the direction from the council retreat onto that section that already existed. So let me find it real fast and I'll be able to share that.
Well, I know there's activity in here.
Well, at one point when underneath the goal around, yeah, there we go. Underneath goal A 3.2, there is a section about providing resources and opportunity to thrive for seniors. And that's where we added the activities that you discussed during your retreat because it was already a segment. We had segmented the goal A3. Let me find that goal.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to scroll back and
It is.
forth and pick up the details, I know.
It's a very ambitious
Yeah.
work plan.
Well, I know, given everything else that's going on in the world right now, this is probably, you gotta look at this and go, really, are we gonna talk about?
Well, I do want to make sure you know that we certainly put that, place the council's wishes into the work plan. Goal A3, focus on making sure our most vulnerable residents have the resources to opportunity to thrive. We broke those up into the categories of youth and seniors, and so it is in the seniors category that we've placed it underneath that goal. You're right, we have also changed the vision statement to be able to reflect the full journey of our seniors. And then Michelle Waite was able to add pieces of the Age Well plan here under goal A 3.2. So if you'd like something a little more robust, we can certainly take a look at that, but that's why it doesn't have something separated because it was already there.
All right, listen, I know there's a ton of work and I don't want to quibble over small stuff. For me, if it were perfect, I guess, if having made the statement, if there's not going to be a goal, then we would have an objective, and providing resources probably isn't the way I would think of as an objective. It would be an activity, unless we put a measure on it. So that's a for what it's worth comment. And I'll just leave it at that. But if I were to scroll down to the second vision, the vision for Longmont Places, and I look at what we added, which I think is appropriate in terms of our 100% renewable energy goal. When I see in this case we did add 2 goals, which is a good thing. I just wish they were stated as goals. They're really stated as activities. And again, this is, this will be, I'm the broken record. I know people will think of this as unimportant. I don't think of it as unimportant. If we're going to have a goal, to state it as a goal statement and taking actions, if the goal is to be active or busy, that would be a good goal, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is a healthier climate. And if we don't want to just work with Platte River, what we want is 100% renewable energy with a target for, or a trajectory for what that looks like. So B5 and B6 look to me like statements that we intend to do things, and we would be easy to evaluate success on those because all we have to do is take actions and work with somebody, and we've met the goal.
I see. So, Councilmember Waters, are you saying that you would rather just say that we will achieve 100% renewable power for life by 2030 and take out the reference?
That would be more. That would be a goal
power?
statement.
Okay.
Now, so yeah, that would be the goal statement. And on the other one, if you're going to make a goal statement, it might read something like ensure a healthier climate for future generations and prepare our community to adapt for the impacts of climate change.
Okay.
That would be a goal statement. Now you
That's
can. Now you have
something
to.
that the council would agree to. We'd happy to change those in there.
Well, so the mayor and the council can decide what they want to do with it. For me, I appreciate the work. I'm just saying those don't quite measure up in my view of what we're trying to achieve here, just in terms of our intent and how we're going to evaluate our effectiveness.
I would like to move to adopt the wording revisions suggested by Councilmember Waters.
I'll second that.
All right, we're changing, there's motion and a second, and the motion is adopting the suggestions of Dr. Waters pursuant to the language to better reflect goal statements. We are not at this time passing ordinance or resolution 8G. That'll be a second motion. So any comments or discussion based on that motion? Councilmember Peck?
I would like to see those in writing before I do this because I didn't quite understand what he was saying. So before I would vote on moving that forward, I would like to see in writing what exactly he's talking about.
And Councilmember Peck, we're just removing the first several words of those two goals, right? We wouldn't be changing anything else on it.
Okay,
Would you like
because I
me to
didn't have
read-
it in front of me. I couldn't find it that fast.
Could I
So-
restate it for you?
Yes,
Would that
please.
be all right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me pull it back up here. So what I understood Councilmember Waters to say is under goals, the last goals of B, right now it says for B, goal B5, right now what it says is work with Platte River Power Authority to achieve 100% renewable power for life by 2030.
Okay.
We would change that to remove work with Platte River Power Authority. We would just say achieve 100% renewable energy for power for life by 2030. That's the first one. Because the action underneath would obviously be to work with Platte River, but the goal is then a goal statement. B6, take actions that will over time support a healthier climate for future generations and helps to prepare and adapt our community for the impacts of climate change. We would remove the whole first section of that so that we just say, ensure a healthier climate for future generations and help prepare and adapt our community for the impacts of climate change.
Okay.
That's the motion. Is that correct, Councilmember
Correct.
Waters? Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion on the table, and then also by way of reminder, we will get this on second reading, so it will be in writing and we'll get a chance to see it.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Second reading.
Oh, it's a resolution, that's true. So
Just a
no
work
second
plan.
reading. Thank you very much. All right, so there's a motion on the table, changing the wording of 8G. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Polly, will you and I? Polly? Can we get Polly back on the line? Is that possible before we can continue?
She has to call in. I'll call her.
All right, let's go ahead. Well, let's go ahead. The motion, did we, nay? Anybody opposed? All right, that passes, 6 of us with Councilmember Christensen absent. We lost her from the phone line, and hopefully we'll get her back soon. So, all right, let's go ahead and, it's almost 8 o'clock. Do we have a motion to pass Resolution 2020-26 as amended? Councilmember Peck?
We're on to the next one, aren't we?
No, we're
No.
gonna vote on, is there a motion?
Okay,
I'm sorry, 8I, not 8G.
okay. Yes, I move to approve 8I.
All right. All right,
I think she's-
Paula, you back? Do I have to answer this?
I think so.
It's a phone. I don't know how to, Polly? Polly? All right, let's go ahead and vote on 8I, and then we're gonna take it's been moved by Councilmember Peck, was it seconded?
By Susie.
By Councilmember Hidalgo Faring. So let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of approving the 2020 council work plan as amended by Dr. Waters, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so that passes 6-4 with Councilmember Christensen absent, but to no fault of her own. So let's, okay, great.
She's there.
That's all right. We basically made some minor wording changes to 8, all right, and then we approved 8I. So it passed 6-0, but do you want to put it for the record what you would have voted? Yeah, that's fine. All right, we got it, that's fine from Councilmember Christensen. All right, let's move on to 8J, approving the 2020 Neighborhood Improvement Program grant recommendations. Do we have a motion, or who actually pulled that? Councilmember Hidalgo Faring?
Yeah, actually, I just had a quick question on is there a time frame for when these funds need to be used by? So if we pass it tonight, are they gonna have, given the circumstances, we don't know where we're gonna be next week. So, I just wanted to make sure that if we pass this tonight, will we be able to like push the projects down? How far can we?
Mayor.
So, hold on a second. So, Polly and Aaron, Councilmember Hidalgo-Faring is basically asking about deadlines and how far we can push it off, et cetera, and we're about ready to get a response from the city. Do you want to come up and sit here and answer that, please?
Sure.
All right, we'll let you comment in just a second, but city staff is going to respond to Susie's question real quick. So I'm going to have him come up, say what he has to say, then I'll be right back and I'll hold up the mic and you can make your comment. Okay, Polly? Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Hidalgo-Faring. I'm Wayne Tomac. I'm the Neighborhood Resource Specialist for the city. The NIP funding won't really be affected. Well, in theory, won't be affected by this. Once we approve it tonight, the neighborhoods will have basically the rest of the year to complete their projects. We try to get it done as soon as possible because a lot of these projects, because they're not really large projects, they have difficulty getting contractors on board. So they either need to do it really early in the year, March, April, or they need to do it late in the fall. So if this, the current situation delays that, they'll have into the fall to get their projects done. And if it causes even more delays, we can carry that those projects over into next year.
Okay, thank you.
I just think to that question, what I would say is on many of these things, we're just going to have to do our best as we're seeing the situation unfold and be flexible as we're looking at these things. That's really becoming a mantra of mine right now. Be flexible and know we may have to move at any point. So we will see.
All right, Polly, go ahead. You have the floor. What's your comment?
Well, in looking at the map, I noticed that there is not a single project in either Old Town West Side or East Side, or any of the poorer neighborhoods. So all of these are going to neighborhoods. Well, they require a match, first of all. So the neighborhoods have to be able to match whatever money they get from the city. And it seems to me that these are going to, it looks like to me, that these are all master plan communities that have their own HOAs. Shouldn't those HOAs be doing this sort of stuff? It seems to me this is kind of just increases stuff because poorer neighborhoods can't afford to even ask for the money because they have to match it. So that's just my comment.
So, Wayne, the question was neighborhoods
Hold on,
that don't
Polly.
have HOAs, and I guess the council member Christensen thought that all of these were going to neighborhoods that were HOAs, and I guess it's just how have those grants been distributed over time?
Okay.
So hold on. Come on up.
Mayor, Councilwoman Christensen. So the grants are available to any registered neighborhood. Right now we have 54 registered neighborhoods. Traditionally, about 70 to 75% of our registered neighborhoods have HOAs. Really a function of the fact that most of our newer communities, almost any community built after really the mid-'80s has an HOA in Longmont. And so we don't make any kind of discrimination based on whether they have HOAs or not. The only real difference between them is that if they do have HOAs, I think they're a little bit more likely because they have extra funds that they can bring to the community contribution. And we do, because HOAs have that benefit, we also do give independent neighborhoods that don't have an HOA a bonus in the NGLA evaluation that tries to just equalize that a little bit, because otherwise the HOAs would always be evaluated higher for having a bigger community contribution to it. And it's something we've adjusted over the years to try to equalize that. Let me also respond that this year's batch are all HOAs. That's fairly unusual. We usually have 1 or 2 independent neighborhoods that do apply. The Historic East Side, for example, has received many NIP grants over the years.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, do you have any other questions or comments, Polly? Nope. All right. Then, that said, where did my agenda go?
You're back.
All right, so do we have a motion? Sorry, Dr. Waters?
Well, I can wait till after the motion if you want to make the motion.
Okay, I make a motion, we move item 8J.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Dr. Waters?
Yeah, as the council liaison to NGLA, I just want to reflect for a few minutes, or a few seconds hopefully, that how well Wayne organizes the whole neighborhood grant program. It is, I knew nothing of the neighborhood grant program until I became a council liaison. And of all the good things that happens there, one of the most impressive is what happens with these neighborhood grants, number one. Number two, you mentioned 54 neighborhoods, some of which are HOA, most of which are HOAs, not all. We have some registered neighborhoods. It's interesting to me as I look at the group, and we've talked about this, I wish we saw more diversity. I think Councilmember Christensen's concern about the diversity of NGLA is a legitimate concern, and I know it's a concern of Wayne's, and I know it's a concern of the leadership of NGLA.
Hold on one second. Councilmember Christian, you can't hear, but Dr. Waters just said he shares your concern of lack of diversity and would like to see more.
So for neighborhoods that aren't registered, whether they are HOAs or not, I think I hope one of the messages, if anybody pays attention to these meetings, because I've had these conversations with folks in neighborhoods and I've asked, are you a member of NGLA? Sometimes no, and I go on to say, gosh, you ought to get yourselves registered, whether you have an HOA or not, because there's so many benefits. The grant program is just part of that. It's what people share with one another, what they learn from one another, what they learn about the city that is equally as important. So I wish there were greater diversity. I think people, as I've watched the presentations, that those who make the presentations work hard. These neighborhoods think this through. They do terrific work. I mean, the projects are stunning. And the members of the NGLA who evaluate them, they're evaluated not by Wayne, they're evaluated by their peers, right? And they don't get a pass. I mean, there's a rigorous scrutiny of these proposals. So people work hard both to get the money. They do match more than 50%, as I recall, in almost every case. Yeah, and then they execute, because I've seen the results of the work. So I think it's a great program, and I just want to give you kudos for the way you come at it and how hard the NGLA members work at it.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and vote on 8J. We have a motion. All in favor of approving the 2020 Neighborhood Improvement Program grant recommendation, say aye.
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 All right, nay? All right, that passes unanimously. All right, let's move on to 11A, Longmont General Improvement District Resolution. So I actually move that we recess as the Longmont City Council and convene as the Board of Directors of the Longmont General Improvement District.
Second.
All right, let's go ahead and vote. All
Aye.
in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Polly? Sorry, was that an aye? All right. That passes unanimously. All right, now let's move on to 11A2. As the Board of Directors of the Longmont General Improvement District, we are ready to pass Resolution LGID 2020-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Longmont General Improvement District Number 1, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Longmont Downtown Development Authority for administrative services. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of, is this a resolution in this case? Yeah. 2020-01.
Second.
All right, that's been moved by Dr. Waters, and it was seconded by Councilmember Peck. Do we have any further questions, comments, or concerns by any council members? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, say nay. All right, that passes unanimously. I move that we adjourn as the Board of Directors of the Longmont General Improvement District Number 1 and reconvene as the Longmont City Council.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, say nay. That passes unanimously. All right, let's go on to 11B.
Mayor,
Yeah.
we are not going to need to, we're going to pull 11B.
All right, sorry, 11B. All right, let's move on. We obviously have no final call because we have no public here. Mayor and council comments.
I do have a comment.
Susie?
So, actually, it felt like a month ago, but it was actually just 6 days ago. I had the opportunity to attend the Landlord Training Alliance event. It was under the direction of Susan Spalding, our community relations specialist, and Joan was there as well. And it was really enlightening to hear, you know, I'm a renter, so I have my perspective, my viewpoint, but then hearing the multiple dynamics and facets of landlord-tenant relations, and just kind of hearing comments, concerns, questions, and it was really, I really enjoyed it. It opened my eyes, and you know, I'd really like to work. Well, one thing I got out of that evening was we need to clone Susan Spalding. She's amazing. So that would be something I'd like to look at in the near future.
There is a
to
motion to
extend.
clone Susan Spalding. Do I have a second?
So no. So that was really interesting. The other thing is, given the turn of events, you know, I was just amazed at the work Friday when I went to the emergency central that the city staff were organizing, putting together, coming up with plans, and how everything was just so real time and making immediate changes. I was thoroughly impressed, and I walked away just having a lot of confidence that we're going to be all right. City of Longmont, we're going to be all right. And one thing though that I didn't see mentioned, and I know I've talked to, you know, I've heard from, I think it was Dan Eman, from the police, the public safety, around people coping with trauma, and not just, but just over a period of time, we're going to be seeing a lot more people with PTSD, secondary trauma, as they start seeing loved ones and relatives hospitalized, just the fears. Yesterday, and that also felt like a month ago, I aided a young adult. He ended up he was a Weld County resident, so we contacted authorities there. He did end up acquiring a gun, and so we were working with the family to hand that over, and it was really, you know, just fortunately I have my assist training, and I've kept that current. But just having those resources and supports for our community as they start dealing with the long-term stress and irregularity that is our current reality. So that's all I have to say.
Dr. Waters?
We're getting information out about what the city's doing, and you did a nice job, Harold. But I think it's worth reiterating what the decision that's been made regarding Nextlight. Could you reiterate that? I know you've shared that. But in addition, what our position is on renters and evictions and utility payments and any other obligation that is created by the city that requires payment by residents. So could you brief us again on that range of decisions?
So hold on a second. Polly and Aaron, basically the question by Dr. Waters was essential services that the city provides, like utilities, what's going on with payments?
Yeah, so what I can tell you is we did put information out that said, you know, we are encouraging folks to pay online, use the Dropbox, but we do have folks that do pay in cash. And so if they're unable to do that, we're going to not have any shutoffs as we're moving through this process. Again, those that are paying and that can pay online or can drop their bills, we're really encouraging them to do that because we're also having to manage a fund as well. But in those rare cases where someone can't, we're going to work with them. In terms of next slide and the information that we're putting out, I believe the information came out midday today. I believe it's going to be for those that really qualify in that CARES program and in that world, 2 free months, and then it'll be $14.99 a month for 25 meg.
Under what conditions would we cut off electricity or water to a resident?
We wouldn't right now.
Under none?
Yeah.
No circumstance?
Yeah.
That's part of the
Yep.
the point I wanted to make sure we got out.
Right.
One unrelated to that, but related to health and welfare. It's my understanding that the school district is going to continue to provide the food service program distributed a little differently, right?
Correct.
Grab-and-go or whatever. Is there a food service program next week during spring break?
You know, it's changing right now. Last I heard is there may not be, but I don't know for sure because there's a lot of guidance changing on that. What I can say that we're working on is we are working with Meals on Wheels in terms of supporting their operation and ensuring that they can continue to move forward. And then we are also working to look at how we can take a bit of a surge during time periods. More generally to the community, when you see a lot of the decisions that are moving, we know there's going to be more of a demand, especially when you look for folks that are in that high-risk population. And so when you hear us talk about all of these teams, that is at the forefront of our conversation right now, is how are we prepared to handle that increase and how do we move forward?
My last comment would be, we all have had a chance to meet with Harold and his key team members. I don't know who all others met with, but I think you all met with Harold. And I like Councilmember Hidalgo Ferring, I'm proud to be part of this in the small way that I am. Proud to be part of the operation. You all and your team are doing an unbelievably good job in my view. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Councilmember Martin.
Thank you. I concur with what Dr. Waters just said. I just also want to say, from those of us who have been working to spread the word, because sometimes it's not as easy to find something on the city website, especially with the current rate of change, that we've had a window into just the Herculean efforts that the city staff is making to keep abreast of things, and when the rules change 2 or 3 times a day sometimes. Every time I've called someone in authority in the city, and it's usually the city manager, it feels like calling into the Situation Room at the White House, only much smarter. Yeah. And they are just doing an amazing job of finding all of the places, all the unintended consequences of the emergency measures that are being taken. And I just want to say that you are all really lucky to be living in Longmont.
One more thing.
Nope, you've already had your turn. Sorry, Susie, go ahead.
Email the e-notifications. If you have the opportunity to get on the website, I went on and I subscribed to that. So every time that they added a news update, I get it on my email. So that's another thing that I would recommend to the public. Now.
Polly, do you have anything to say? Actually, sorry, Joan? It's okay. Okay, Polly, do you have anything to say?
No, just everybody stay well.
All right, she said no, everybody stay well. Aaron, do you have anything to say?
Sure, I'll say.
Hold on one second, let me get ready. Go ahead. This could be the last
Sure,
thing
I'd
you
like
ever
to
say,
say-
Aaron. Make it good.
Last thing I ever say. Got it. First of all, I just wanted to say that, as I've been telling people, be smart and not scared. You know, don't panic buy. Self-quarantine if you need to, and please continue to support our local businesses and restaurants, as obviously we know they're going through some difficult questions about how they're going to handle this going forward with the edict from Governor Polis yesterday. And that being smart also is the reason that I'm sitting here at home tonight and not there with you guys, and I wish I could be. And I just want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day as well.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Councilmember Peck?
Thank you, Mayor Bagley. I just want to reiterate what everyone said about the city staff and how incredible they are in running our city. And this is the second big thing after the 2013 flood. Now we have this pandemic. So if they continue to run the city like they did through the flood, we can have every confidence that it's going to be done well. The other thing I want to say is we are a community, but I think in times like this, we need to be a smaller community. So if you can reach out to your neighbors, keep in contact with them, make sure that they know that we support each other. If anybody in your neighborhood needs anything, let it be known that through social media, phone calls, texts, keep in touch with each other so that we can all take care of each other. I do have a question. It has to do with permits that are being issued for developers. We've had some questions about the public hearing process. Are we going to be, through planning and zoning, having public hearing on these issues or not?
We just made the decision, at least on the recent one, based on some guidance and conversations with the developer, that the planning commission meeting next week, they are going to cancel that one.
Okay.
But I think that's a joint conversation because really, frankly, I think everyone's struggling with this.
Exactly.
In terms of permits, what we are saying is, here's the reality of the world. If your hot water heater goes out, you're going to need to replace your hot water heater. And so because we're closed, we're asking that folks, and we're going to get more guidance on this, that you go in, you do your plan online, and then we'll work you through the process, and then we'll inspect whenever we can. But in terms of those public hearings, what we've said is those that really require and need public engagement, we're just working with folks and pushing those off.
Okay, thanks for retelling that.
All right, I guess my thoughts. I want to echo. First of all, thank you, staff. Having visited the EOC Emergency Operations Center, I think you guys are doing great. Also, big thanks to Kaiser, Dr. Amy Ducro, as well as their president, the governor. Everybody seems to be doing great. However, something that as I observe is I just would call that everybody's attention that, balance is needed. On one hand, you've got a group that I keep hearing saying this is a conspiracy, it's no big deal. And then I'm also hearing a call for social isolation, meaning hole up in your homes and don't come out no matter what. I think that as you look at this, the word pandemic in the news media, this is really a scary thing. To me, what's scarier is now we're starting to see some of our food service workers who are unemployed. I'm getting phone calls and emails about, oh my gosh, how do I pay rent? And even if I don't have to pay rent, how do I eat? So this is probably going to get worse. Economically, it's going to get worse. Right now, the numbers Governor Polis has put up, there's a website, covid19.colorado.gov. Every day at 4 o'clock, he's going to update it. Right now, we have 183 known cases. And we could argue about whether or not people are getting tested or this or that, but we do also know that there were 20 hospitalized, and of those, we've had 2 fatal cases. So while this is extremely serious, and that's why we are here with 10 people in the room, practicing social distancing of 6 feet, washing our hands, making sure we're trying to not touch our face, but I've seen everybody just pawing their face tonight, and I cringe every time I or any of you do it. But my point is that there's a second disaster that could be looming, which is if we fail to stop supporting our businesses, which have employees, being hungry and is just as bad as being sick, oftentimes. So look for a balance. Stay healthy, but also don't be scared. Be smart and not scared, as Aaron said. I really echo that. I would also encourage people. I wish I had answers to people who have lost work. I wish I had answers to the restaurants who are struggling, the small businesses who are struggling. I would just encourage everybody now more than ever. turn to each other rather than on each other. It's fine to argue about whether or not what you should or should not do to take care of the virus. That's fine. But if your neighbor doesn't have tampons, help them get some tampons. If they're out of TP, give them a roll of toilet paper. If they don't have eggs, give them some eggs. If somebody needs or is hungry, give them one of your 500 cans of Hormel hamburger chili. Just help each other through this. And when we get through this, on the other side, we'll figure out how to fix it all. But the way we keep our community and society safe is loving and be kind to one another. And so I would reiterate that. So Harold, do you have any comments?
No, Mayor. I think what I would say, based on what everyone's saying tonight, thanks for your comments. And really, we have a great staff here that does they do amazing work on a daily basis. And as I said to them, I couldn't be prouder to actually work with a group like this and to see what they're doing. What I will continue to say, this thing has changed fast on us. Yesterday, I was prepared to go into a WebEx and speak to, I think we ended up connecting with 500 to 600 of our staff members. Literally 20 minutes before going into it, the talking points I had flipped on their head. And so that's in large part what we've been dealing with. I think what I will say in this is many of the things you've talked about, we're already trying to shift and to look at what is the secondary. When you're trained in emergency management and you see this, we talk about secondary issues, secondary disasters. When you see the teams that we're building, that's really what we're focused on. And we're trying to look into the future and really see what can we do, what programs are there, how do we do this. We are fortunate. We have Charlie Cross, Peter Gibbons in our organization that have really, in terms of recovery, gone out and taught different people in the nation about this process. This afternoon, we're starting to engage them in different activities. It's going to continue to be a challenge. The thing that I would ask the council or ask the community, we have tried to really approach this from a pragmatic standpoint, understanding what's coming at us, make decisions, balance all of the issues. Some people will say we didn't do things fast enough. Some people will say we're doing things too fast. The reality of the situation is there's not a right decision. We're just trying to make them the best that we can based on the information. What I've asked staff is to remain calm, don't panic, wash your hands, follow the hygiene principles, and at the end of the day, how do we take care of our neighbors? How do you look at the person that lives down the street from you that may be in that high-risk category, and how are you engaging with that individual to say, how can I help you? It is incredibly important for us today as a global community, as a national community, and as a local community to really come together and focus on how do we deal with these issues and how do we deal with the issues that are to come. Because if we don't do that, it's going to be hard to be successful. But if we do that, we can be very successful. I heard something last night, and I wish I could take credit for this. Tom Colicchio, who's a chef, that talked about what's the impact to local restaurants. And he said, it wouldn't surprise me to see 60% of local restaurants not be able to reopen. He said something that was really important that I sort of grabbed, and he said, and Tom's in my generation, he said, this is our generation's version of World War II and the Great Depression. And how we work through this issue will define us. It's really how all of us work through this and how it defines us as a community. That's what we're trying to do as staff.
Thanks, Harold. Polly, Aaron, you didn't hear, but Harold basically said that this whole mess is your fault. I'm just kidding. All right. Eugene smiled. Nobody else did. They're just too serious. All right, Harold, or Eugene, anything?
No comments, Mayor.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, aye. We're adjourned. That was unanimous.